my friends, and welcome to the Growing Happy Babies Birthworkers interview series. In this podcast directory, I make sure that you have the easiest possible time deciding which wonderful birth supporter is right for inviting into your family's journey. All the potential members of your essential prenatal and postpartum village are assembled right here in the Growing Happy Babies directory. Doulas, midwives, prenatal and infant body workers, lactation consultants, and so much more. I'm Adina Kopinski, board-certified lactation consultant and fellow mom. Together, we transition more easily into motherhood. Let's grow some happy babies together. Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming and listening with us today. Today, I'm going to be talking with Carmel Ganach. She's a midwife in the northern part of the Americas. Yeah, is that how you would say it?
Yeah, pretty much. Northern part of the Americas is good.
A midwife, a Sobada practitioner. She does birth processing and prenatal care as a midwife, and I'm sure we're going to have a great fun talking together. So welcome, Carmel.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah. So I was wondering if you could start out today's conversation by telling us a little bit about how you became a midwife and what brought you to this profession.
Well, actually, it's a really good story. My oldest son, it's thanks to him that it all happened. He just turned 18, so it's been 18 years in the making. During his pregnancy, I was at a place in my life where I was sort of wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I had just left a previous degree that I realized was not right for me. And while I was pregnant and preparing for birth, I realized that I also wanted to have a home birth. And I started reading lots and lots and lots of books and lots of information. And the more I read and the more I got ready for my own birth, I realized that my interest was more than just for my own birth. This was something that I wanted to never stop reading or learning about. I wanted to be there and I wanted to learn everything I could about it. And even after the birth, I had a wonderful home birth. After the birth, also, that interest did not disappear. So I realized that's what I wanted to do. And that's when I started my mission or my journey, I guess. It was a long journey, but here I am.
I also became a lactation consultant because of my experience with my oldest son. I think a lot of us who changed careers after we began motherhood have our oldest children to thank.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's such a transformative event, right? Pregnancy and birth. There's so much transformation that happens there and so much discovery of your own powers and your own strengths and your own personality, I guess, like things that were sort of hidden under a lot of layers and have the ability to show up.
Absolutely. I uncover a new part of my identity every time I give birth to another child. That's how it feels.
Yeah, exactly. So since then, I've had another 3 beautiful home births, and I went and I studied nursing and I studied midwifery here in Israel, and I worked in Laniado for a few years as a midwife, and I have my youngest daughter to thank for finally getting out of the system and becoming a home birth midwife. She just turned 5. And after she was born, I realized that I had had enough of the system and I needed out and I needed to do what my heart really, really wanted to do. And something that was softer and more true to my ideals and my feelings about the work. And that was sort of my boot step out of there. And that's when I started doing only home births. I had been like joining other midwives as an assistant or as a doula or as a second midwife for many years. But after her birth, I started actually doing only home births, and I started with a group of midwives that I had worked with. And then when felt I was ready to venture out on my own, I did that, and I've been doing that since 2022.
Wow.
Yeah, and loving every minute of it. Really, really loving it.
Can you tell us what sets you apart as a midwife? What are your special skills?
Well, first of all, I really like to meet the clients that I'm working with a lot. I mean, here in Israel, not all midwives work in the midwifery model of care. Even the home birth midwives are, a lot of them have only a few meetings or, they're more about coming to the birth itself. And I feel like I work more in the like the American midwifery model of care. So I meet my clients a lot, and that helps us become really, really close and helps foster that relationship um, that carries trust and is able to deal with the intimacy that is required for birth. And also, I think what really I mean, I'm sure a lot of other midwives have this, but I have a really strong belief in women's power and women's strength. And really what I find most of my job is to just find that, nudge that into being, like urge that to happen, that the woman finds her own strength and her own power. And for me, just to be able to support that and be there to witness that and not really, I don't feel like most of the doing is my own. I'm just there to sort of make it shine and help it shine and shine through during the birth. And that's really mostly what I do. And I'm sure there's a lot of other amazing midwives who do that also in their own way. But I guess that's my strongest belief is the power of women and the power of birth, and really the beauty that birth carries.
Mhm. Being believed in is so powerful in so many stages of life as a human, but especially a really vulnerable stage like giving birth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think what was more difficult for me in the system was not being able to give that to all of my clients at the hospital because I had to run around between rooms and because I didn't know the women beforehand and being able to do that continuity of care and to really get to know the women I was caring for before the birth and after the birth and help postpartum and see, get to know all the vulnerabilities and the strengths and be able to help her see them during the birth. I think that was something that was harder to achieve in the hospital
Hmm.
and is so much easier at home with that kind of care.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm sure the women that you help are really lucky to have you there with them.
Thank you. I'm really lucky to be there, really. Like being at births is a gift. It's really a zchut, like
Yeah.
something that I'm very, very thankful for that this profession chose me and that I agreed
Hmm. Yeah.
to go on this journey.
Hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about the other services you offer within your midwifery practice?
So of course I do prenatal care. So I go over blood tests and we talk about nutrition and movement and also a lot of emotional preparation for birth and for postpartum. I also do abdominal therapy. So all of my clients get an abdominal massage before birth. And I also do that separately, like not only for my midwifery clients, but that's like the big bonus and it's one of the sessions that I love doing. Of course, if there were difficult births before, then we do some birth processing during the meetings, and prepare for birth really with the client and with their husband or partner. Um, I find it's important to have a relationship with both of them, not just with the birthing mother.
Yeah, it's a birth
Um,
family.
yeah, exactly. Sometimes I get to know the kids, the
Mhm.
older kids, when I do the house visits, and um, it's always nice to get to know all the people in this little um, what's the word? Like in the dynamics of the
Mhm.
family.
Yeah. So what does the abdominal therapy help with?
So besides, I mean, for prenatal care, like during pregnancy, it can help with of balancing the body and balancing the uterus. So sometimes things like pain in the diaphragm or pain in the pelvis. Also, heartburn and just general like indigestion problems and anything that has to do with the body not being completely aligned and more stress being in one place than the other. It can
Mhm.
even help sometimes with the what's the word? Um like positioning, with the
Mhm.
positioning of the baby. So it can help a lot with the positioning of the baby, especially if they're breached towards the end of the pregnancy or if they're not exactly um, sitting well in the pelvis. So that can also sometimes be helpful. And not in pregnancy, it can help with fertility, endometriosis, any kind of digestion issues. But
Wonderful.
also a lot of fertility issues, like trouble getting pregnant, but also anything that has to do with the regularity of menses, of like your period.
Hmm.
So heavy periods, uh, and periods that are changing towards menopause, that kind of stuff, that can also help
Hmm.
with balancing that.
Wow. A whole range of things.
Yes. Basically anything that has to do um, hmm, with the organs in the pelvis. Thank you. I
Mhm.
couldn't think of the word organs.
That's fine. We all speak a mishmash of languages here.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a story of a birth that you would like to share with us that might be inspirational or interesting?
Absolutely. It was very difficult to choose from.
Hmm.
So many beautiful births, really. But there was one in, that stayed in my head in particular that I thought would be appropriate. It's a fourth birth, a mother that had had three babies before, two of them in the hospital. The third one was an intended home birth, but was transferred to the hospital during the birth. So she approached, and neither of the previous births were with me as a provider, and she approached this birth with a lot of fear of plans being changed and not really believing that it could stay at home, like fearing that she might have to transfer again, but really wanting it to be a soft home birth. And her husband was very, very skeptical, and he had such a I wouldn't say difficult, but I guess a strange experience for the third birth, and he wasn't really looking forward to another transfer, and he couldn't understand why again she was choosing to meet with a home birth midwife and go through this whole thing when anyway she's going to end up in the hospital in the end. It doesn't, the whole thing, it doesn't matter. And we had a beautiful pregnancy with lots of meetings and lots of good conversations, and we processed the previous births, and um really in my mind I had no doubt that she was gonna have a beautiful birth at home. And then the time came and she had called me to tell me that she was having contractions, um, and her water didn't break, and she didn't think that that could be. And um, because her water had always broken in her previous births. So maybe it wasn't really the birth, but I could hear that contractions were starting, and we kept talking during the day, and then they started to be a little bit more intense. And I said, okay, I think it's time for me to come over. And we came over, and I could see she was really, really in that birth mode. She had a doula that's also a good friend of hers, and she was being supported beautifully, and she was breathing through them, and contractions were nice and strong. They weren't yet really close together, so I could see that we had a little time, but she in the beginning she was very unsure that she was really in labor. She kept asking, "Are you sure this is it? Like
Mhm.
maybe I'm not really in labor." And I was like, and I had there was a lot of reassurance going on in that birth. I kept saying, "Yeah, you're doing amazing." I mean, that this is because during the contractions you could see she was really into it, and then between the contractions she was, looking around and asking questions. And then at some point she went into the shower while we were filling up the pool, and finishing that up, um, and I could tell she was almost like I could hear the sounds changing, And then we could tell that she was almost getting pushy, like she was about to get into the pushing stage. I could hear that shift happening. Um, and I told her what, I suggested her to go into the birth pool, and she was like, she wasn't sure. Maybe it's too early. And I suggested that she check herself, and she did, and she couldn't believe that she was actually feeling the head coming closer. And she, in the water, she was like an Amazon, so beautiful and so strong. And she was holding on to her husband, and her husband was ecstatic because he could see how strong she was, and that was what he kept saying afterwards. He was looking at her and he was like, there was so much strength emanating from her. She was like,
Mhm.
she was just radiating this amazing woman strength, and it was just so beautiful to see. And then really in a few more contractions, baby was out in like a roar. Really, she roared that baby out, and she looked at that baby, and it was just so beautiful to see. Like, she couldn't believe that she had done it, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful moment. And when I came postpartum to visit, the husband said to me, I think all births should be like this. Everybody should have their baby at home.
A home birth convert.
And it was just, they had had such a soft transition this time. And even though, they needed some help with lactation, they had a lactation consultant. There was still, sometimes there's issues, even when the birth is so beautiful and soft, but everything was just, there was something about the way she was holding herself after the birth that was just so beautiful and strong and present, and just like she was just holding herself taller, and she could deal with anything that came her way. And it was just beautiful to see.
Wow. Wow. Talk about that transformation that happens when we give birth.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely. Even in the fourth birth.
every birth. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful story. Thank you for sharing it.
My
Um,
pleasure.
is there any piece of advice you'd like to give to any of the women who are expecting to give birth soon, who are listening today?
Well, I guess my sort of my pet peeve, or the thing that I like to talk about the most, because I feel in our culture it's really, really not talked about a lot and not supported enough, is postpartum support. And really, I think the best gift that you can give yourself for that postpartum period is help, and a lot of help and support. And even if you're feeling really, really amazing, and a lot of times my home birth clients, they feel so great after the birth that I have to remind them that even though they're feeling really, really good, this is not the time to go out on walks, and it's
Right.
not the time to pick up older babies, and it's not the time to cook or clean or wash. Have as much help as you can. Bring Make sure that someone can bring over food, can give you food while you're in bed or lying on the sofa, and really, really spend as much time as you can lying down and resting. And
Hmm.
sometimes that requires a little bit of preparation ahead of time, like making sure that you have the people that can come to support you. And sometimes it might not be family. Sometimes it's friends or neighbors. Um, but to make sure that you have that support network for after the birth, and also make sure that your husband or partner understands the amount of support that you're going to need after, and not to try to be a hero
Mm.
um, and do lots of stuff after the birth,
Yeah.
because it's gonna be a present for your health for many, many years to come.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to understand it, I think, because you might not see the repercussions the day after, although bleeding might be longer if you're not resting,
Mhm.
and you might have a longer time um, recuperating from birth. But really, what you're gonna see is in 10 years, you're gonna have less problems with your pelvic floor. Your body's gonna thank you. So that's, I guess, my biggest tip.
Yeah, it's really important. Thank you for telling everyone because yeah, postpartum care is it's crucial to our mental health and our physical health for many years to come. That's exactly why we have this, village right here that we're putting together in the directory, that it's a place to choose your village, find the people that you connect with.
Absolutely.
Right. Especially if you need prenatal and postpartum care. And every woman does to some extent. Every woman does. Mothers have to be mothered.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It just makes our job so much easier, like to be a mother when we're mothered ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Carmel, for being here today.
Pleasure. Thank you, Adina.
Friends, check out the full directory for every interview we've done up until now, housed at my website, growinghappybabies.com. But before you go, I've got one question. Are you the kind of person who learns better by listening or by doing? In my 2-part online prenatal breastfeeding class, The Pocket Prenatal, I blend the basics of breastfeeding with practical hands-on skills. Choose to watch the videos on your computer or phone, read through the transcripts, or pop in an earbud, take a walk, and listen to the audio-only podcast version. After you've dived into the what's and whys of breastfeeding, join part 2, our live hands-on class, where we roll up our sleeves and practice the how of breastfeeding. Experience hand expression, learn how to size yourself for better pumping, practice bottle feeding techniques that improve your baby's sucking skills, and use easy bodywork exercises to help your baby's comfort, sleep, and digestion. You're going to walk out of this class with an essential toolkit for navigating early motherhood. This is the class every baby needs their mother to take. Go to thepocketprenatal.com and use your listener code, Growing Happy Babies, for a special 10% discount. See you there.